All right, season 2 just ended. How we feeling, folks? This is your safe space to talk all about that finale. Your thoughts, trying to process that in the moment. We're going to discuss that, the season as a whole. If it was indeed, the word I'm going to use here is anticlimactic, and whether or not I'm excited for season 3, let's discuss. All right, the Queen Who Ever Was, 1 week removed from the Red Sowing, which I thought was a really good episode. Oftentimes, these shows deliver penultimate episodes, and then the finale can sometimes be just a little bit of the fallout of that. That is, just to start things off, definitely what this is, but the finale of Season 2 of House of the Dragon is also almost solely for planting seeds for the future, essentially giving us a tease for what is to come, and we're going to dive into that and discuss it, and I'm going to hash out my thoughts, because this is kind of in real time. I just finished the episode, so I'm working through this just as you all are. Just to start out, my favorite episode of Season 2, I was hoping it would be the finale, that is not the case, was Episode 4, The Red Dragon and the Gold, where we get our big and what turned out to be one of the only dragon battles of the season. We get a character death and the scarring of King Aegon, essentially meeting his father's fate to a degree. I didn't expect that to happen again, and I've said this before. I didn't read the books, so I'm following along this story. I know somewhat of the history and what is to come because I've looked into it, but I didn't know things were happening in real time. So episode 4 really shocked me. We got the dragon battles. We got, again, character deaths, which we haven't seen as much of in Season 2 because, again, this is a season that is paving the way for Season 3, and an awesome climactic sequence that set the standard for what Season 2 was supposed to be in my eyes. And every episode since then, while some have been really good, we've gotten some awesome character moments, some surprising things have happened, and I know we've gotten character deaths since then. Shout out to my boy who is trying to impress Rhaenyra by taming the dragon. It just gets burnt to a crisp. I love that. It was, again, shocking, and those moments are delivered in House of the Dragon Season 2. But my thoughts as a whole, this season, I'm not going to use the word filler because everything that happened was of importance. And I believe most of these individual episodes, barring 1 or 2, which were a bit too slow for me, I'm like, yeah, I guess that could have been filler, or maybe even stretched out for 2 more episodes. I think Season 2 may have been 2 episodes too short because they could have put in some really exciting things at the end. But it really does all feel like we're building and building and building to Season 3. And with other shows that I've had the opportunity to go back on and watch all the way through, catch up on for the final season and whatnot, and I'm not going to say specifically Game of Thrones, but I didn't watch the first few seasons of Game of Thrones in real time. I caught up on the first 3 to 4 seasons, so when I came in, everything was happening. Part of me feels like if I did watch Game of Thrones seasons 1 and 2, I would have been on the edge of my seat waiting for seasons 3 and 4, waiting for that payoff. Not that we didn't get any in Game of Thrones, but I would have been feeling similarly to how I'm feeling right now with the House of the Dragon, which is we just got to sit and wait for the ultimate payoff for what happened in Season 2. And in reality, people are looking for action and battles and deaths and dragon on dragon madness. That sounds dirty.
Oh shit, I'm sorry.
But what Season 2 is more about is the internal struggle and conflict, especially with Daemon, who is going through it throughout this entire season. The visions, whether it be of the past into the future, which made for a nice way to put in some cameos, some characters and actors that we saw in Season 1. But in this episode, and again, spoilers for Episode 8 if you haven't seen it yet, we get some visions into the future with Daenerys and some really cool shots of the Ice King. What is to come? That was really cool, right? So Daemon's entire story, this entire series of hallucinations and how Rhaenyra's just like, all right, I guess he's gone. He's left me. I'm on my own. No one will let me fight. I'm sitting at a round table in a position of power and no one's even listening to me. Poor Rhaenyra. She was really going through it in Season 2. But again, it's an internal conflict through and through, with Rhaenyra, with Alicent, with all of the kids and the chaos going on between the kids and brother-on-brother violence. I mean, Aemon took out his brother. His sister knows that. The conversation we get between those two was one of the highlights of this finale, and she says, I see exactly what you did to him. I see what you're going to do to me and how you will end up, and that was a beautiful moment between these two, and really, Aemon's entire arc in this season was something that I kind of expected because of the type of character that he was in season 1, but it was fascinating, as well as the recovery process for his brother and the fact that he's trying to just get used to the life that he's living now, went from being in the ultimate position of power to scarred and alone and miserable, like he says a couple of episodes ago. It's heartbreaking, but the little bastard deserved it. Okay, maybe he didn't deserve that. I'm just...
Okay, guy, settle down.
By the way, Sir Kristen Colt, buddy, you caused so much chaos this season for no reason. Granted, there is a reason for it, what we're ultimately building to, and we're going to talk about what we're building to here in just a second, what we can expect from season 3 in, 2 years? They're going to make us wait 2 years. After sitting through that teaser of a finale, we have to wait 2 years to see the payoff. And that's my frustration, right? I really wanted to see some form of payoff in season 2, and maybe it could be some of the restrictions they had. I believe I heard this, maybe it was a rumor that they had to cut from 10 episodes to 8 episodes. And ultimately, it doesn't feel like we were going to get any of those battles in this season to start with, but we could have gotten something else at the end to just kind of calm our tummies just a little bit. Give us an appetizer. We're going to have to wait a while for the entree, but give us an appetizer to allow us to be, confident going into season 3. And this internal struggle that each individual character has and where they are at the end of the season compared to where they are at the beginning, it shows that it's a good season of television. And I think that's the thing that I'm looking at. We're going to look back on season 2 of House of the Dragon, hopefully, if seasons 3 and 4 deliver on these battles that I'm going to talk about here in just a second. And we're going to say, oh my God, wow, season 2 really just got us to that point, and then it was guns a-blazing and all hands on deck for seasons 3 and 4, and it was incredible. But right now, in the moment, I can't help but to feel a little disappointed because it didn't really feel like we were moving. At times, it didn't feel like the story was advancing in the way that I believe Season 1 did. And I made this comparison. Season 1 of House of the Dragon was an amazing setup, maybe even better of a setup, not the crazy, chaotic moments, but a setup than Season 1 of Game of Thrones. Now, I do recall Season 2 of Game of Thrones being a little bit more of, okay, we're pushing the story forward, not the crazy stuff yet, but we're still pushing it forward, and we push it forward. In House of the Dragon, the storytelling is awesome. The filmmaking is phenomenal. By the way, the score at the end of episode 8 just now was riveting. I mean, the way that we were jumping back and forth between all of the characters. We see Daemon and we see Rhaenyra and everybody walking, as well as the shots, the 2 wides that we get at the end of Rhaenyra and Alicent. Beautiful. That's filmmaking at its finest. The score, spectacular. But again, the episode ends, and I just felt unfulfilled. And I don't want to feel unfulfilled at the end of a season of television. Maybe if we get the next one in 6 months, fine, I can wait, but we're going to have to wait 2 more years, folks. And to feel that way, you're inevitably going to feel some disappointment, right? I'm seeing a lot of disappointment online. And then those people that are like, all right, guys, chill. That's just the story that they're telling. I get that, and I absolutely understand that, and I will defend that to a degree. But as a fan, one who hasn't read the books and is kind of getting into this story both out and inside of this TV show, I needed something more during this finale. It was a good episode of House of the Dragon. It was not a good finale. And that's where I stand with it. 2 more episodes, episode 10. If this was episode 8 of a 10-episode season, great, because we're going to get 2 more epic episodes. But it wasn't. Now, going back to Daemon's vision, again, we're seeing what is to come in Game of Thrones and the struggle that is to be, painting a picture of the future that we have already seen of what Daenerys is and who they become. That was beautiful. The highlight of the episode for me, and something that was epic and did get me excited. And there was a line between Rhaenyra and Alicent at the end where Rhaenyra says, history will paint you as a villain. And they've come to each other a couple of times in this season just trying to get past this this anger and hatred that they have towards each other, every time being on a completely different page. At the beginning of the season, having to describe to each other, I didn't mean for this to happen. I didn't mean for that to happen. I didn't mean for this to get out of control completely. And then finally, we see a culmination of that at the end here with these two conversing, and that was great. But again, that internal struggle between the two was ultimately the climax, the culmination of these struggles. But the battle rages on, and the battle is, we're seeing the beginning stages of that here in episodes 7 and 8. And again, I could say these thematic choices here and things that they choose to focus on with these characters, these are deliberate decisions. So this isn't accidental what they've done here. We're setting the stage for what is to come. War is upon us. And the Battle of the Gullet, the fall of King's Landing, all of these epic things that I've actually looked into, again, not a book reader, but I've looked into it, and it feels like we're going to get some of the most epic battles of our time. And I believe I'm correct in saying the Battle of the Gullet is like the craziest dragon battle in the history of this world, of this land. And it's a lot. I didn't entirely look into who makes it and who doesn't, but what we will inevitably get, and I believe that's going to happen at the start of Season 3. Who knows? Maybe Season 3 is all of these things we're looking forward to. And it's going to be bloody and brutal, and we're going to see the end of a lot of our characters, I have a feeling. So, Rhaenyra and Alicent, their little beef they have, that's great, but we're going to be worried about a lot bigger things in Season 3. But just a taste of that would have been cool. Something to leave us wanting more that didn't feel anticlimactic. Something to leave us wanting more that did feel climactic, that we built and built and built. Like the end of Season 1, we see a major character death, and that's like, oh my God, that was ripped to shreds at the end of Season 1. At the end of Season 2, I'm just like, okay. When's the battle? 2 years from now? Gotta wait 2 more years? Great. I'm going to push back a little here. Just because I was disappointed in this as a finale doesn't mean I think it's a bad episode of television. That's not what I'm saying. I think the writing is really good and the filmmaking across the board is great. But to choose to make this the stopping point, that's my issue, right? And this entire season had pacing issues up and down. We're moving with certain characters. As interesting as Daemon's story was, we are stuck there for a while, and it just feels like we're stuck with a lot of our characters. Lots of round table discussions and back and forth with the kids. Now, granted, one got his face half burnt and his life is miserable now, but it just felt like we kept circling back to those things and introducing new characters, and now we've gathered our dragon riders, our bastard children, if you will. Now we have our armies coming from every which direction, and we're marching. We're marching into battle, and now we're stopped. And I feel like I keep repeating the same point, so I'm going to wrap this up, because I just wanted to hop on here and let you all know how I was feeling. I think overall it's a good quality season of television that years down the road we're going to look back on and say, oh, Season 2 did a lot for these characters, got us from point A to point B. But hopefully Seasons 3, 4, 5, I don't know, can pick it up and we can really get going and the pacing can get going, because that's what happened with Game of Thrones. I hope that happens here. As of right now, again, House of the Dragon, you just look at it visually and you listen to it audibly. It is higher quality storytelling than a lot of television, but I do believe Season 1 is far superior to the season, because Season 1 was rocking my world phenomenal. Season 2, all right, cool. Excited for Season 3. Let's do it. I'll leave you off with this. If you are one of those and you're very disappointed in Season 2, George R.R. Martin did come out and say, I can't remember when it was, that it's going to take, I think he said 4 to 5 seasons of House of the Dragon to do what we want this storyline to do, to make it all come together. Now, I also think he said each season would be 10 episodes. That didn't happen this season. It was 8. Felt like it should have been 10. But I'm holding out, folks. I think there's a lot here, some seeds planted for the future that I'm getting excited about. Again, I did want more out of Season 2, but overall, it's still really quality storytelling. So let me know your thoughts below. Please discuss if you were disappointed in this finale as a finale like I was, or if you disagree and you think it was the best finale of all time, please let me know. I would love to hear why. Also, drop a thumbs up if you like these HBO reviews. We'll try to do more, featuring epic storytelling and another magnificent production. Season 2 advances this conflict in an interesting way while setting the stage for an epic payoff. The season ultimately feels like a teaser for something greater, but the quality remains. I liked my time with season 2 overall, but I do share in the criticism of we are setting the stage, which is good, but I wanted a little more with this finale episode. Thank you so much for watching. Stay tuned. We've got plenty of reviews coming this week on the channel. Soon, Alien Romulus, and we may be ranking M. Night Shyamalan movies.